Hey everyone, it's Michael Groff here to talk to you about your roof. With an active monsoon season expected this year, you need a name you can trust, and that's why you should call Blackstone Roofing Group for all of your roofing needs. Call for your free inspection today. Big or small, they do it all. Tile, shingle, or flat roofing, they can help. Offering free inspections and more. Roofing made easy. Call 602-536-9363 or visit blackstoneroofinggroup.com to schedule your free inspection today. And if you tell them Michael Groff sent you, they'll take $500 off the price of your roof replacement. Again, that's 602-536-9363 or blackstoneroofinggroup.com. This is the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for Wednesday, the 23rd of July. I'm Michael Groff. There's a couple of ways to look at this upcoming weather scenario here over the Southwest. The glass half full approach is that temperatures are going to be below average today and tomorrow. Yes, we'll be warming up over the next several days, but nowhere near record heat, maybe just barely even getting above average. But the glass half empty side is moisture levels going down. I guess that could be both, glass half full and empty, because humidity levels are down. That's good, but that also means no chance of thunderstorms for the next several days, all the way through the weekend. Where the heck is that monsoon? Now, as we go into next week, the forecast does turn decidedly more interesting. And does that mean we're going to see a return to monsoon activity? Showers, thunderstorms, what about temperatures during that time? We'll talk about all of it as we dive on in and discuss. First, the almanac from yesterday, not bad, really. 102 degrees the afternoon high, 84 the morning low. Both of those values below the seasonal averages of 106 and 85. We did pick up a trace of rain officially in the bucket at Sky Harbor yesterday, and a few of you saw some measurable rain, but for the most part, just like the last few days, not much to be had across the area. Outside now, it's 6:07 a.m. We've got a few clouds out there, especially over in the eastern sky this morning. We're sitting at 84 degrees at Sky Harbor. Dew point is still up at 61, but that will be coming down in the next 12 to 24 hours. We may very well see dew points in the 20s and 30s before long. How about that for late July? Relative humidity 45%. Winds light barometer is rising. Temperatures out there right now are actually not too bad, at or just a little bit below seasonal levels. We've got 77 in Whitman. It is 77 at Santan Valley, 78 at Desert Mountain School, 76 in Carefree. Even in the urban core, it's not horrifically hot. 85 in Tempe and Scottsdale, 84 in Arcadia, 81 at the Goodyear Municipal Airport. You've got 80 in Avondale. So that's not terrible. Satellite picture out here across the Southwest shows what's going on with this weather pattern. High pressure is roughly centered over Arkansas this morning. That's way out of position for where we would normally want to see that this time of year, by about 1,000 miles or so. Meanwhile, we've got we're on the very, very far western periphery of that, and that ridge continues to be eroded from the west by a broad trough, and that's brought unseasonably cool weather to the California coast. And what it's also doing is turning the flow aloft more out of the southwest, and you can see what's happening this morning. That monsoon moisture is getting pushed further and further away from us, and that's going to be the story for the next several days. Any showers or thunderstorms will be confined to maybe eastern New Mexico, Texas, and we're going to be high and dry here over the southwest. Maybe the entire state of Arizona goes without any thunderstorm activity. Now for today, maybe some isolated storms over the higher terrain. That's going to be about it. All right, here's that watch warning map. And with that ridge over the central plains in the southeast U.S., we continue the story, the major headlines here featuring heat. The heat advisories and extreme heat warnings extend from the Gulf Coast to as far north as Des Moines, Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Milwaukee, Detroit, Lansing, Indianapolis, Cleveland. It's going to be hot. Those heat index values at least up at 105 degrees in the peak of the afternoon heat, maybe hotter than that in a few locations. Elsewhere, it's pretty quiet, especially out here in the west. Convective outlook for today. We've got the standard slight risk of severe storms. Omaha up toward Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Rice Lake, Wisconsin. But here in Arizona, maybe the extreme eastern portion of the state in the green, there could be a few thunderstorms, but for the most part, yes, it's going to turn very quiet here over the southwest. Precipitation outlook, this is valid through Wednesday morning of next week. Rain amounts in Phoenix, probably nothing. Statewide, we might see as much as 1/2 inch or so over parts of east central and southeast Arizona, but much of that doesn't fall until about the middle part of next week when, as I mentioned, the weather pattern will start to turn more interesting once more, and we'll talk about that in more detail and everything else too. See what the future may hold as we explore those models. Here we go. This is the GFS. It's the 06Z run. It's valid at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We start as always with that upper look. This is where the pressure is 500 millibars, and that's about 18,000 feet up in the atmosphere. All right, high pressure is over the east and southeast U.S. and much of the eastern half of the country, gripped by this ridge, and so temperatures there are going to be at or above average. But out here in the west, look at that. Heights are below average. Upper heights being below average, indicative of that low pressure trough that's out there. And what that means for us down to the surface for the rest of the day today, mostly sunny sky and afternoon highs below seasonal averages, upper 90s to about 103 degrees. How about that for the 23rd of July? Typically, when temperatures are below average in July, it's because of high humidity, clouds, chances of showers and thunderstorms, kind of the opposite. And that's going to be the theme of what we're going to be talking about for the rest of this video. Kind of strange stuff, anomalous weather pattern for us. Let's keep going here for tonight. We've got clear sky. Overnight lows will dip into the 70s in the cool spots, low to mid 80s in the urban core, maybe not even mid 80s, depending on how fast that dry air works its way in. And by tomorrow, yeah, those dew points are going to be way down. You're going to feel it for sure. Much drier air, sunny sky, high temperatures about 100 to 105 in the lower deserts. And again, that is at or maybe just a little bit below where it ought to be for this time of year. And certainly compared with recent months of July from the past several years, that's going to feel like almost paradise, right? Never thought I'd see the day, but there we go. All right. Well, again, shower and thunderstorm activity tomorrow, almost nothing across Arizona or most of the southwest U.S. Maybe a few showers and storms in New Mexico and Colorado, and that's going to be about it. We're high and dry. And we're going to continue with that theme as we go to Friday. Upper low along the California coast, unusually strong and unusually far south. And that's going to provide places like Eureka and San Francisco and Monterey and even down to the LA basin, below average temperatures for the most part. And, you know, David Parnell, I think in the comments, I think it was David, was talking about that San Francisco is having one of their coolest summers in the last 40 years. And that's the symptom of that low pressure sitting out there. Now, for us, it just means dry southwesterly flow, and so we continue with nothing going on here. Temperatures do gradually warm up, though, because ridging is going to try and poke in from the east, but recent model runs have suggested we don't get as warm as quickly. So highs 102 to 106 Friday, maybe about 104 to 108 on Saturday. And again, the sky is sunny, the air is dry, hardly a shower or storm to be found anywhere over the southwest. You just don't see that in July. Even with a suppressed monsoon, typically we'd at least have some storms over New Mexico, West Texas, Colorado, Wyoming. Don't see it out there. Let's keep it going. This is Sunday, and again, we're still dry. High temperatures somewhere around 106 to 110. Initially, we were looking at highs maybe 112, 113, but again, because of the influence of this trough, it's going to be very hard to get the temperatures maximized despite the very dry air. Again, dew points 20s and 30s here over the south central deserts. And the sun angle in July is still up there over 70, 75 degrees at peak of the day. So it's very strange to see this kind of setup. Let's keep going. This is Monday, and things are going to start to change as we go later into Sunday and Monday. High pressure is going to finally start to slide back toward the west over the weekend and early next week and taking a position somewhere over Colorado or southeast Wyoming. And as that happens, and this trough is nudged a little bit further to the west briefly, we'll see the flow aloft turning more south-southeasterly here. And that's not going to take very much to bring back that monsoon moisture into at least northwest Mexico, parts of New Mexico, and eastern and southeast Arizona at that time. So scattered showers and thunderstorms come back in, and the GFS has actually been hinting at the possibility of some sort of inverted trough or disturbance, or maybe even a tropical wave that kind of gets caught up in this flow and brought around into the southwest to really enhance shower and thunderstorm activity. Not going to get too caught up in the exact impetus for this right now, but the model trends do certainly suggest showers and thunderstorms on the increase on Monday. And in a nod to that, we might even put a slight chance of storms into the forecast here in Phoenix on Monday night. If we see anything at all, though, the more likely outcome, given how dry the air mass will have been for several days at this point, will be for gusty winds and blowing dust. Still, high temperatures might tail off again a couple of degrees on Monday, and we'll continue that on Tuesday with an increase in showers and thunderstorms over central and eastern Arizona. Scattered afternoon and evening showers and storms. We're going to keep the forecast a little conservative, though, in the south central deserts, just because the GFS is really buying into the concept of a deeper southeasterly flow setting up, and this trough still out there over the California coast and actually adding some elevated flow aloft here, some stronger winds aloft for better dynamic support. And while that is certainly a possibility, I am not wholeheartedly buying into it just yet. I want to see more consistency off these models. Nevertheless, let me show you what's going on here. This is next Tuesday, the precipitable water values coming off of the GFS. What is precipitable water? It represents the amount of moisture through the atmospheric column and the theoretical amount of rainfall that could be produced if all of this moisture were to be condensed and sort of wrung out. And so we use this as sort of a guideline to see how much moisture there is. And typically in the monsoon, precipitable water values kind of baseline are about 1.3 to 1.4 inches, especially in late July. These values about 1.6, 1.7 inches. That is certainly above average. So deeper moisture will be back in here according to the GFS. So that's why we're going to at least bump up the chance of some showers and storms in here on Tuesday. And high temperatures should fall back to around 102 to 107 over the lower deserts, maybe lower than that, depending. All right, here's a week from today. This is Wednesday, the 30th of July, and what the heck is going on here? You've got a negative tilt short wave just to our west. You wouldn't normally see something like that until maybe the fall. That's very strange. And we've got the deep moisture to the east. This ridge is kind of stronger now than previous runs, and still a southeasterly flow over eastern Arizona. And if this setup were to come out as advertised, and that's a big if, and there's a lot of working parts here to talk about. But such a scenario would set the stage for highly diffluent flow aloft, and we could actually see some strong or severe storms. This would be more of what we would call a transitional event in the fall, where we see these sharper troughs and maybe these short waves that come into the southwest or clip across the region and bring an end to the monsoon that time of the year. But to see this in July is, to say the least, strange. So we might have to look for some strong storms next Wednesday if this is correct and if it plays out as advertised, and if, which is just the dirtiest word ever. It's just like potential when it comes to weather. But I just want to alert you to at least the possibility. The model's trending this way. At least the GFS is strongly trending this way. And we've seen the European and the European AI and the Canadian model, and some of our ensemble guidance kind of flirt with this idea as well. What will actually happen, who knows, but there could at least be an enhancement to the shower and thunderstorm activity, albeit somewhat briefly, because then what ultimately happens is southwesterly flow comes back. This is Thursday, the 31st. And yeah, the trough is again nudging the ridge to the east, and southwesterly flow is taking over once again, but the deeper monsoon moisture is not far away, setting up a very sharp moisture gradient over the southwest. What does that mean for Phoenix? Well, probably drier conditions. So the monsoon may come back, and may come back with quite a vengeance for a couple or a few days, only to be again suppressed by this strong troughing that never really goes away. So what an interesting setup. Will it play out like that? Probably not. This is weather. Expect the unexpected, but it is something worth talking about right now. All right. All the while, by the way, temperatures would not be very hot, relatively speaking. We'd probably still see highs 100 to 106 in this kind of setup, which is at or even below average. Let's go out 10 days. This is the first day of August, Friday the 1st. Normally, this is where the monsoon is really just peaking. It's usually cranked up, going gangbusters. High pressure would typically be sitting over Colorado, the Four Corners, Utah, Wyoming, somewhere across the west. And we'd have the robust showers and storms each afternoon and evening over the higher terrain and scattered storms in the deserts. Instead, how about a broadly negatively tilted trough that's sitting to the north and west of us, and southwesterly flow and dry conditions? I don't know. This has been a strange summer. Kind of has 2020 vibes minus the intense heat. It's still been hot this summer, but nothing compared to what we've had last year, 2023, 2020, 2019. So this is it's a different dynamic, that is for sure. Looking at rainfall for Phoenix out through the 6th of August off the GFS ensemble, the mean about 0.4 of an inch. Control member coming up higher than that. And there is a skew here in the models toward bringing in more rainfall out by about a week from today and beyond. But that's what climatology would suggest too. The peak of the monsoon, at least in terms of statistically speaking, our highest probabilities of precipitation are here in late July. Well, we're not seeing that, but you know, these ensemble guidance, the ensemble guidance generally does have a slight climate bias that way. So, you know, we have to take a little bit of this with a grain of salt. European AI ensemble, which has different set of metrics and different algorithms and physics parameters that it uses. 51 members here, and boy, do we look dry for a while. And some of these members show nothing through the 6th of August. Others do show some precipitation, but not much, generally under 1/4 of an inch. Looking at looking at temperatures off the national blend of models, we're below average today and tomorrow and gradually warming up, but you'll notice something missing. 110-degree temperatures, they are not on this national blend of models temperature run. Why is that? Again, the presence of that trough is driving down the mean values. So it is a little bit questionable if we'll even hit 110 this weekend. We'll see. And then temperatures trend down a little bit next week in favor of A, more monsoon moisture, and then B, another very strong push of drier air and maybe slightly cooler air from the Pacific later next week. I don't know. All right. This has definitely made discussing models interesting, not necessarily for the reasons I'd like, but interesting nonetheless. Looking at the Climate Prediction Center outlook, they're probably just as baffled as I am. This is for the 8 to 14 day period out through the 5th of August. And temperatures, if this were right, are skewed towards slightly above average here over the southwest, with precipitation favoring near average values. And if things kind of play out as the models are advertising, I don't know, temperatures may actually turn out below average during that period. But either way, they've got temperatures at or maybe a little above average and precipitation near seasonal averages. And at this point, I think we would all settle for near average temperatures. All right, that's going to do it for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video is due back here tomorrow morning. If you happen to enjoy these videos, maybe not necessarily the message, but still appreciate what we do here, then be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell, leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. If you're really enjoying what we do here, well, help support the channel then. Click that thanks icon below the video here on YouTube, make a monetary contribution to us, or you can donate via PayPal. groffshow@gmail.com is that PayPal address. It's groffshow@gmail.com for PayPal. Also, our Venmo is linked up down below. All right, with the e-begging out of the way, the executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion is my OAO, the sweetest of all time, the I should say sweetest of all time. I don't know. My monitor just went off there for a minute. Squirrel. and proprietor of I hope it's working. There we go. sweetchildaz.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name, Sweet Child Arizona. Talking about my Michelle, she's also our VP of operations for our streaming station, which is available 24/7, 365. It's called KMGX. We play a ton of music and have a lot of fun with that. So give that a look and a listen. That is linked up down below. And of course, all of Michelle's blogs and videos, everything Michelle related, probably Adriana related, is all linked up down there too. So much stuff. Also, check out our friend of the channel, Dan, over at the Courtroom Files, courtroomfiles.com. The Courtroom Files is the name of the YouTube channel. Again, it's linked up down below. I highly suggest you check him out. He has an incredible back catalog, and there's live stuff that goes on every single day. And if you're a channel member, you get the pre-show, and there's all sorts of other benefits. Just a ton of stuff, and that's courtesy of Dan over there at the Courtroom Files YouTube channel. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. All of your continued support, so greatly appreciated. Please be safe, stay cool, stay hydrated, avoid those technical glitches where you can, and have yourselves a beautiful Wednesday.